Hi, everyone. Tony from Hack the Movies here, and it's the 30th anniversary this month of Mrs. Doubtfire. Does the movie still hold up? Are we still allowed to like it? Let's find out in today's episode of Talking About Tapes.
We're talking about tapes.
Oh no, the store's computer was compromised by hackers. I can't stand these online threats. They make me so angry. Did someone just censor me? Am I being surveilled? If only we lived in a world where the internet was free of online threats, censorship, and surveillance. Oh wait, we can with NordVPN. NordVPN is the fastest VPN on the planet and will keep you safe from malware. They're also privacy oriented. They'll keep you safe without tracking or sharing what you do online, which is good because if anyone knew I was constantly Googling Rule 34 art of myself, I'd be super embarrassed. Let me tell you how I use NordVPN. Thanks to NordVPN, I can now get access to movies that are streaming on Netflix in other countries. For example, I tried to watch the stupid new Men in Black movie on Netflix in the US, and it didn't come up. So I switched my VPN to the UK and I went international. Men in Black International. Now I can watch Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson kick alien butt all day long. One of my favorite things about NordVPN is the password generator. I hate coming up with new passwords. Luckily, they got this whole system here. Look, you can modify it by length. You can get rid of capitals. You can use digits. You can switch it to words. It takes making passwords and makes it super, super easy. Oh, that's a good one. One account protects up to 6 devices and their dedicated apps for all major platforms. Go to nordvpn.com/hackthemovies to get the 2-year plan, plus 4 extra months. It's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. You guys might be noticing that I'm alone. I was supposed to do this episode with official Joey C. He did an episode or a video on Mrs. Doubtfire earlier this year. But we went to a haunted house in October, and he embarrassed me by being scared and crying. And I was like, you are affecting my really masculine image, and I fired him from the show. So I guess I'm doing this solo. Oh,
I could do this episode with you, Tony.
Some young lady has wandered into the store. I'm sorry. Who are you, madam?
I thought I told you.
No, you did not tell me your name. What is your name?
Oh, it's Mrs. Joey C. Mrs. Joey C.
Mrs. Joey C.
Yes.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Mrs. Joey C. I assume that's short for Johanna. We have another Johanna on this show.
Wow, interesting. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, she also is married. Mrs. Joey C.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the film Mrs. Doubtfire?
Oh, of course. I love this movie. What a wonderful, wonderful film. Used to watch it all the time as a child.
I'm glad you're here, Mrs. Joey C. Yeah, so let's talk about Mrs. Doubtfire. Speaking of watching all the time as a child, I feel like you're kind of close in age to me, Mrs. Joey C, I assume.
Of course.
I feel like this is a big part of our childhood, this movie.
Oh,
it was pretty big.
Yeah.
It played all the time.
Yeah, it did.
It was funny because this is on Disney Plus, and I'm like, is this a Disney film? And then I realized it's a 20th Century Fox film, so...
I had the same reaction. I was like, you told me to watch it, and I was like, all right, boy, better go look up where it's playing. I was like, Disney Plus? Is Mrs.
I told you to
Doubtfire?
watch this? I thought I just met you for the first time.
No, I must have got my dates confused. I'm not a scientist here.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, I looked it up and thought, boy, is Mrs. Doubtfire a Disney princess? Tony? Because that's what it sounds like.
You know, I'd buy it. Everyone's a Disney princess, apparently.
Including me.
Sure, Mrs. Joey C. So I remember seeing this in the theater, if you can believe it.
That's wild.
I was just thinking, like, what are the earliest movies I can remember? And I think like 1993 is like around when my brain turned on and formed memories. Because I remember seeing Jurassic Park. I remember seeing this. But going further, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing Aladdin in theaters. I would have to look up like 1992 movies to see what else I might have seen.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's like right now, that's the earliest theater experience I can remember. But yes, I remember seeing this, I believe, with my cousins, my little sister, who had no idea what was going on. 'Cause she was like 1. And we all had a good time. And we've had a great time since then watching it on VHS and DVD. And it was on TV all the time. I don't know if they play this too often. I know it's on Disney Plus, but I don't really hear this one talked about too much these days.
No, I do. As you mentioned, Joey C. earlier,
Yeah.
did do a video on the horrifying nature of Mrs. Doubtfire, and,
Yeah.
and that is the only latest thing that I've seen.
Yeah.
Recently.
I feel like there's multiple reasons for why we're not allowed to like this movie these days. So I was like, you know what? It's actually been a really long time since I've seen this.
Me too. I
Yeah.
know. I was told, not by you,
Oh,
of
okay.
course, but by somebody else to watch this.
I assume Mr. C,
Yes.
your husband.
He passed away about 8 years ago.
Oh, he
Yeah.
did. Oh, wow, that's a shame.
Yeah, we were on vacation in Hawaii, and he got crushed by a volcanic rock.
Mrs. Joey C, if you don't mind me asking, what was your husband's name?
It was Brotherhood of the Wolf Sea.
Oh, was that a family name?
Yes, it's a very historic name.
Oh, well, I wish he was here with us right now to talk about Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah. Anyway, yes, this is directed by Chris Columbus,
Oh, classic guy.
who I think did Home Alone.
That's right.
Yeah, so Chris Columbus directs. It was written by 2 people who have gone on to become producers, I saw. I'm sure their names are on the back of that box.
Of course.
And this is based off a book or a short story or some kind of story called Madam Doubtfire.
Which is wild. Because
You
we
know-
always talk about like Hollywood isn't original anymore. But even back then, it was like ripping off
I
like
think-
short stories. And
I
stuff.
think it wasn't ripping
Well,
off.
not
It was an
ripping off, but
adaptation.
yeah, adaptation. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's okay if this is like the first adaptation of this one story. I think it gets a little bit of leeway. There was, I saw in 2003, like a French TV adaptation called Madame Doubtfire.
That's wild.
We might have to hunt that.
Oh,
one
for
down.
sure,
We should
for
really hunt
sure.
that one down. If you become a regular, Mrs. Joey.
Of
C.
course, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Starring Robin Williams
Classic. Rest in peace.
and Sally Field. And a bunch of other people. One in particular who ended up being a really big star after this. Now, Mrs. Joey C, since we do have the tape, I keep meaning to do this every episode. This is a show, by the way.
Oh.
You're on the internet.
Oh,
Yeah.
hello, internet.
Are you used to being on the internet?
No.
No.
No, never. I've never been on the interwebs before.
Have you been on camera?
Only when. I'm sorry, I can't hold it in. Brotherhood of the Wolf Sea used to film me. I'm sorry, I just can't do it.
Sorry, filming you doing what?
Housework,
Oh,
house
okay.
papers and
You must,
stuff.
had a weird hobby. Okay, anyway. Would you do the honors of reading the back of the box?
I will.
Thank
I'm a
you.
very good reader. How far would an ordinary father go to spend more time with his children?
I don't know.
Daniel Hillard, Robin Williams, is no ordinary father. So when he learns his ex-wife, Sally Fields, needs a housekeeper, he applies for the job with the perfect wig and a little makeup and a dress for all occasions. He becomes Mrs. Doubtfire, a devoted British nanny who is hired on the spot, free to be the woman he never knew he could be. The disguised Daniel creates a whole new life with his entire family. Outrageous, hilarious, and often touching, Robin Williams makes the box office hit a film to be watched again and again, baby.
Man, remember back in the day where this could be like a box office hit, like most talked about movie of the year? Now it's like people were shocked that Barbie and Oppenheimer are like big films because
Yeah.
like the last like 10 years it's just been like franchises.
Yep.
Which Barbie will be a franchise.
Oh,
but
for
yeah,
sure,
but like
for
it's just
sure.
been like Marvel. What's the biggest movie of the year? Marvel.
Yep.
Marvel. Star Wars, Marvel, Jurassic Park. It's like, oh yeah, back then. Well,
That's a good point.
Minus Jurassic Park in 1993.
Of course.
But like
yeah.
back then, it's like, oh yeah, a movie like this could be like the most talked about watched movie of that year.
Yep.
We'll never see those days again.
I know.
Sad.
Sad.
So yeah, I think we should just get right into this movie.
I think so.
30 years. Was it 30 years? 30 years.
You told me 30, so I hope it's 30.
Yes, it's 30 because Jurassic Park also had its 30th anniversary.
Wow.
And I went to Universal Studios and I did a little video on the main channel, which should have just been a vlog on Patreon because fucking no one watched that video. But if you want to watch that video, it's on the main channel. Yes, so movie starts off. Figaro, 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 Figaro.
La 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 la. A te fortuna.
We meet Daniel,
Yep.
Robin Williams,
Yep.
who is a voice actor. And look, I get the whole 90s anti-smoking thing because that was jammed down our throats. And it worked. I never smoked cigarettes. You never smoked
No,
cigarettes.
no, of course not. Never. Because of this movie, in fact.
Oh, good.
Yes,
good,
yes.
good.
Mr.
But-
Brotherhood of the Wolf C did.
He
That's what killed him. But he was given a couple of months to live, and then, as you know, the volcanic rock
Oh,
came down.
wow.
It was very tragic.
Wow, you know, you got a second chance at life, and
Cigarette skills, folks.
cigarettes kill. Cigarettes kill. If he had not almost died the first time, he wouldn't have went to Hawaii
That's right.
because he was like, you know, you only live once. Oh, wow, poor
I know.
guy.
I know.
Anyway, I can't remember a lot of cartoons at the time that had smoking in them.
No, and plus the cartoon that they were showing in the movie
Looks
looked-
older.
Yeah, it looks like a 1950s cartoon.
Yeah, that was the weird thing because like I remember watching this as a kid and be like, oh, because I was watching Looney Tunes reruns, not knowing they were reruns, just thinking they were just modern cartoons. So yeah, looking back at this, I'm like, that cartoon looks way too old.
way old.
For this time period, and also like sure there was smoking when you would watch reruns, but like a lot of newer stuff, I don't remember a lot of smoking in there. But he goes on a whole anti-smoking thing. And by the way, like if this came out now, right-wing YouTubers would be like, trying to force some kind of anti-smoking agenda. The movie just
That's
starts
right.
off with this clear agenda attacking people who smoke. And they would have a million videos, but then the left wing would also have a bunch of videos about his Gandhi accent that he does.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time.
It's like if you want serious, go do Gandhi, and then he does the Gandhi accent.
Then I've got to do what I've got to do.
So he quits his job.
Dude, which is wild because that town must be filled to the brim with talent because Robin Williams was killing it in the
Yeah.
booth. And the guy was like, I'll never call you back. And he's like, good, see you later.
But it's like, Robin, you had the script. You knew it was in there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You had the script. You knew it was in there. Like,
Yeah, what's
would
this
you-
agenda here? I don't
why
know.
would you make the decision last minute? Oh, so stupid. He's, as we learn in this film, he is full of bad decisions.
Big time.
He makes one at the end that I went, yeah, of course this guy would do that. Anyway, I will get to that one. So yeah, he quits his job like an idiot. He meets his kids outside of school and he's like, oh, his kids, Lydia, played by Lisa Jacob from Independence Day.
Yep.
And other things. Chris, played by Matthew Lawrence. Was he what's his face's brother on Boy Meets World? Was he on Boy Meets World?
I don't think so. I could be wrong about that. It's been about 20 years.
He was
since
on
I've seen
that Power Rangers ripoff
Yes,
show, the Samurai,
yeah.
Cyber Samurai.
Yeah,
I still
something
have
like
some of the
that.
toys somewhere.
That's amazing.
And of course, Mara Wilson as Natalie.
Yes. That's
Before Matilda
Yeah, that's right.
and whatever other movie she was in. So he throws a party for his son. And they're like, Mom said no parties. You did bad on your report card. He's like, don't worry. Mom won't be here for 4 hours. I'm going to hire a goddamn petting zoo on short notice to hang out on our front area. It's a really nice house, but it's on like kind of like a tight street on a hill.
That's
This is-
got to be like a $4 million house.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
that house is ridiculous. Like even
Yeah.
back then, that would have been a pricey house.
Insane. Dude.
What the fuck does she do for work again? Some kind of designer or something?
Yeah, like interior designer or something
Yeah.
like that. And it's weird because the cop is sitting on the corner, like
Yeah.
waiting for the wife to get home when the dad is inside.
Yeah.
Like he could have just knocked on the door and been like, "Man, you can't be doing this."
Oh yeah, that's the thing. The fucking neighbor rats them out.
Oh, yep.
But before they're ratted out, Miranda, Sally Field, is in her office talking, and then Martin Mull shows up for a cameo.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, it's Colonel Mustard. And Gene Parmesan.
Yes, exactly.
I watch it. I went, Gene! He lets Miranda know that Stu Dunmire wants to work with her. And she's like, oh, the Stuart Dunmire? Oh, my God. Then she gets a call. And she ruins everyone's good time. This party was a little ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Where are the parents?
To her credit, like, the cops had to be called, and they were like, the dad is... And he just got fired that day, or quit. So you can't quit and then throw your son the biggest party in the world with, like, live animals just running amok. I don't know where the handler is during most of this.
Yeah, what was up with that? And all the kids are hanging from the chandeliers and stuff. And I'm like, dude, where's the supervision here, man?
Well, the one adult is just, where are the other parents?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't remember a lot of parents just going like, yes, young kid, go unattended to the party.
Exactly.
I'm like, there would be some adults there.
Come on.
The kid is swinging from the chandelier. Dan is on the table dancing.
He is doing some fresh moves.
Yes.
Oh, my good Lord.
Did you ever see the movie Toys with Robin Williams?
Yes.
God, we might need to revisit that.
That's a classic.
I used to watch that movie a lot.
Me
And
too.
as I got older, I'm like, this movie is terrible.
And
yet I can't stop watching it.
It's so good.
You ever see the first trailer for that movie?
No.
It's just Robin Williams in like a grass field, just doing like voices and sound effects. And at one point he's like, it's like Toys in the Hood. And he does like a rap thing.
Oh, my good
That
Lord.
was terrible.
Well, it's like Toys in the Hood.
Anyway, Sally Fields was like, oh my God, this is awful. And she's like, look at this, but it is a big mess. And he's like, I would have cleaned it before you got there. I'm like, the bull fucking shit, you were going to clean that.
Dude, there's
before.
a horse in the fucking living room.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
What the fuck? He does suck. I can't believe she's been putting up with it for this many years.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He's
Like,
a
I know
monster.
couples who don't get along stay with each other for a long time, but this is too much.
They are polar opposites.
Yes. But yeah, she's basically like, this is the way. Like, the yelling was really good.
Yeah, it was.
The yelling was kind of, so have you ever heard like a couple, like parents arguing and stuff? Like, oh, that's kind of.
It was weird to see Robin Williams like actually yell like that.
Yeah.
Because you rarely see him like in this era do like serious like acting and stuff.
Yeah.
And especially in a movie like this, it's odd to see him like yell. It gave me flashbacks of my own father. He was he
Just
was a tough
yelling?
boy. Yes, yelling.
Yelling at you?
Yes, with lawnmowers.
You know,
of
my
course.
friend Joey C., his dad yelled at him and made
Really?
him play with lawnmowers.
Wow, he sounds very manly.
That's weird that your dad would do that to you, a young lady.
It was a misunderstanding. I
Oh.
didn't put my nail polish container away, and
Oh, okay. So he yelled at you for that.
it got a little messy.
Oh, I don't know why your dad would care about
Swallowed a couple of Polly Pockets, and
I'm sorry. What? Okay, you know what? Let's just get back to this. So yeah, they're like screaming at each other. And she's basically like, I'm done. I want a divorce. And he's like, what? Why would you possibly want to leave my terminally unemployed, totally doesn't listen to you and trashes the house husband? Like, why would you want to leave all this? So yeah, I like that he goes over to his brothers, Harvey Firestein, which I really love seeing Harvey Firestein. And he's basically like, what does he say to him? Oh, by the way, his brother's a makeup artist.
yes,
Very good makeup artist.
Yes.
And his husband is also a makeup artist.
Yep.
Which I didn't know that was legal back then. I guess San Diego was just ahead of everyone. Or are they in San Francisco?
they're in San Francisco.
She says
Yeah.
San Diego Zoo at some point, but I think they are in San
Yeah.
Francisco. But yeah, he tells him like, it's gonna blow over. It doesn't blow over. Cut to them in court. Miranda gets sole custody. But the judge has a little bit of leeway. He's like, no, this is temporary. Get yourself a job and a place. And in 3 months, we'll reevaluate. I'm like, that's actually pretty reasonable.
I was gonna say that's just like that sounds very reasonable to me.
Like right now, I know it's kind of hard to find, but he did have a brother he technically could have stayed with.
yeah,
So that was an option, but yeah, I mean, 3 months, It's annoying, but you can do it.
Yeah.
And so he should just work really hard and find a place to rent. I do like him telling the kids like it wasn't their fault for the breakup.
Yeah, that was kind of sweet, actually.
Yeah, because that is a lesson that like young kids should. Because I've heard that with like kids, they're like, I felt like it was my fault. It's like, why would it be your fault?
Yeah, literally.
It doesn't even make sense, you idiot. That's what I say to those kids.
Of course.
I'm a counselor in my spare time.
Oh, that's good. You're really...
Yeah, I counsel children. They're like, is it my fault? I'm like, no, what are you, fucking stupid? What the hell?
Such a good counselor.
I am. I'm great with kids. And babies.
Oh, really?
Babies never cry around me. When they do, I just shake them a little bit.
Oh, that's good. That's all
It
you
stops
need to
them
do.
from crying. If you would like to hire me for my babysitting service,
Go to patreon.com/hackthemovies.
at the $1,000 tier, I babysit your kids for a month. Anyway, but yeah, that's a good lesson that kids should know. Polly Holiday, who is Flo, she plays Gloria, his court liaison.
Yes.
And she has to check on him. What'd you call it? Like every
Friday or something?
like every Monday and Friday,
Yeah, yeah.
Monday, at least Monday. I know
Yeah.
that. She apparently was unaware of that he was a voice actor or that voice acting exists, because he goes on like a whole montage of his voices and she like doesn't understand. She's like, that's a job. It's
Yeah,
like-
that scene was weird because you very rarely see like cuts like that in like full movies.
I think they just let him go. They're like, Robin, just do your thing. Do
Yeah,
your
I
thing."
think so too. It was really jarring at first because like you always see like it'll cut back to like the lady and then it'll cut back to him and he's doing something else, but it was like just legit cuts.
Yeah.
And that was kind of unique. I don't see that too often in movies.
I do like that. She was like, she like calls him out. She's like, you think you're funny? And he's like, I thought I did, but you really, you proved me wrong today.
That was a great line.
That was
Yeah.
really, his delivery was really good on it too. He's like, hey, you really proved me wrong. I really thought I did.
And she's just straight like stone faced the
Yeah.
whole time.
Okay. So this was weird. He gets a job for a network and he says, I'm the actor. But then they show him his job and it's shipping film containers.
Yeah, I thought that he was just like he got like a lead somewhere and he was like, "Oh, I'm whatever the actor." And then the guy was like, "All right, here, you're going to ship them." And what does he say? Like
You pack them,
and you're
and
going
then
to
you
ship
ship 'em.
Yeah. What
He's
do
like,
I do
any
after I
questions?
pack 'em?
He's like, any questions? Yeah, I thought that was bizarre. I'm like, well, how did you not know that was your job going into it?
Well, it was before the internet.
Oh,
You know.
okay. Miranda meets up with Stu,
Yes.
and Stu is Pierce Brosnan. Speaking of videos that don't get a lot of views, my first two Pierce Brosnan James Bonds, I wish they did better.
That's a shame because I love Pierce Brosnan.
Well, I love GoldenEye.
Me too.
And we did GoldenEye, and this year I did Tomorrow Never Dies, which is my favorite James Bond film of all time.
Really?
Yeah, I love it.
Wow.
What's your favorite?
GoldenEye. Or here's a hot take. Actually, I'm going to say this. I like it more than GoldenEye. Die Another Day. For sure. Love that one. Well, I'll invite Joey C back in.
No.
here, so-
No. But I'm just. You might not become a regular, Mrs. Joey C. after that statement. Anyway, let's talk about a good Pierce Brosnan movie. She kind of falls head over heels with him. So apparently they had a past.
Yes.
They might have been together briefly. She left him for Robin Williams.
Robin Williams.
Bullshit.
Come on.
The
The guy's a stud, man.
Yeah, or they grew apart. Maybe they didn't break up or anything. But he kind of like got the job with her to basically reunite, which, considering what else happens to her in this movie, not as creepy
No.
as some other things, but still a little. I get it. I respect the move. It's a
Yeah.
little weird, but I get it. Yeah, and she's just like so attracted to him because it's Pierce fucking Brosnan. Why wouldn't you be?
Oh, fucking Fox, man.
Now you're a young lady. Would you go for Pierce
Oh,
Brosnan?
yeah. Super foxy.
Even modern Pierce
Oh,
Brosnan?
yeah. Have you seen him? He's great.
Have you seen
He's
his-
old.
Have you seen his wife? You might need to hit the gym a little less.
Perhaps I shall.
Yo, good on him.
I agree.
People shit on him for that. I'm like, no, he's actually in love.
No, I saw a meme where it was like true love doesn't like
Yeah.
see like figures or whatever, and it's beautiful to see. I hope one day I find another love like Mr. Brotherhood of the Wolf Sea.
I don't know why you looked over there.
Oh no, I was just checking. My neck was.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, my
okay.
neck.
So Dan has a place and a job. He just needs to finish unpacking and he'll be set. By the way, throughout this film, they're kind of shitting on his apartment. I'm like, that's a nice apartment.
Dude, it literally is.
It's like a really nice apartment. The ceiling's really high. It's got a nice big living room, big bedroom.
Yeah.
A closed kitchen. Like, what the fuck?
They really tried to fuck up the set as much as possible with
Yeah, and I'm just like, this
empty
is a-
Chinese food containers.
I'm like,
and,
those are really, it was nicer than my last apartment. And my last apartment was pretty nice, minus the heat not working. Let's not live in the past, just, it's nothing more fun than the dead of winter and not being able to be in my living room because it's so fucking cold. Anyway, his place is nice.
Yeah.
Messy, but nice.
Big mess.
And everyone walks in, they're like, oh, what a shithole. I'm like, all right, let's relax. He just moved in, you assholes. The older daughter isn't helping. She's kind of being mean to him. And they're eating Chinese food, and they're all just look kind of sad. He does kind of screw up by talking bad about the mom.
Yeah, and then little Matilda's like, you want mommy to die?
Oh, yeah. Because
He's like, no.
She wants her to get like dysentery or something. Yeah, you don't do that. Split up couples.
The best line in this entire scene was when little Matilda lady was like, you're going to think good thoughts about mommy? And he goes, yeah, I'll think really good thoughts about mommy. She's a princess? Yeah, she's a princess. It's so good.
But then Miranda shows up and tries to get the kids out early. And he's like, no, we still have an hour. You're my goddamn kids too.
Yep.
And then she walks in and she's like, I don't have time for this. Give me my kids. And I'm like, okay, you seemed reasonable at first, but Sally Field's character does some shitty things like that. It's like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Big time, man.
Stop it. I was on your side, but then you said my kids. Like, no.
Yeah.
Really bothered me there, Miranda.
Yeah.
She's like, look, I have a lot of things to do. I need to give a thing to the paper for a housekeeper. And he's like, oh, can I look at that? And he offers his services.
Yes.
And she's like, no, you literally had a farm in our house. Like, you destroyed our house. Like, fuck you. Go to hell. But he sees what they're paying and whatnot, and he like fucking scribbles. He like
That
changes
was
the phone
wild.
number.
Which I tried to do this exercise in real life.
Yeah.
I wrote out my phone number, or I wrote out another phone number, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, how could I change this to my phone number?
No, he doesn't change it to his number.
Oh, does he just literally?
He just changes it to
Oh, that makes it way easier.
Yeah.
I was like, he rerouted the calls to his.
No.
But yeah, that makes sense because it never.
Yeah.
It's always him calling.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so he comes up with this idea to be their housekeeper.
Yeah.
And then he goes to his brother and says, make me a woman. His brother's very excited for it.
Could you make me a woman?
Honey, I'm so happy.
Before that, he just starts calling her
Yeah.
and pretends
Oh,
to-
yeah.
He calls and pretends to be the worst people ever. I didn't get this one. I don't know why Sally Field would hang up the phone here when he goes, I don't work with males because I used to be one. I don't know why she would.
No, I don't get that either. What's the
Because
what's the joke here?
because it's clearly they're pretending to be a woman calling saying I used to be a male, and Sally feels like ew, and I'm like I didn't get that. I didn't get that joke.
Interesting. Yeah, neither do I.
I don't know. Maybe it's dated. I didn't get it. But yeah, he just keeps calling and just pretending to be like assholes. Other than the one that he did, which we don't get.
Yeah, of course.
And this is my question. So Miranda's been with him for at least 14 years. She can't recognize any of these fucking voices
He's
from her voice
definitely-
acting husband.
Yeah, he's definitely done some of these voices around the house for sure. That's just silly. Come on, it's kind of her fault,
Yeah.
you know.
This is like when I used to do Joker fan. 279, an old character, not allowed on the show. He would get canceled these days. I'm surprised he didn't get canceled back then.
Me too.
But that's by like the girl I was with at the time. If I like called her now with the Joker fan voice, she would be like, "Oh, Tony, it's you."
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah, of
what?
course.
No, it's not." Like, it'd be like, "No, it's. I've heard that voice a million times. I know that's you." So yeah, her being like, "Who are these people?" It's like, how do you not fucking know?
Yeah, seriously.
I did like the one. I am Job.
I am Job.
I am Job.
I am Job.
Then he calls as a British nanny.
Yep.
And he gives the whole backstory and everything. Really impresses her. And then she's like, "What's your name?" And he didn't come up with a name. He's an actor who came up with the backstory, but not a name for their character.
Come on.
Bullshit.
Every character has a name prepared.
Yeah. It's a weird name for them to even pick, but I like that he moves the newspaper and the article, not looking at the writer of the article's name. He looks at the article and goes, "My name is Mrs." And then the article says, "Police doubt fire was accidental." So there was like an arson story, which I want to know more about.
Yeah, me too.
Did they ever solve that arsonist?
I don't think so.
Is this in the same world as Backdraft? Was this
Oh,
happening the
my
same
God,
time
it
as
might be.
Backdraft?
It might be, man.
Look, I know I've seen the movie, but not enough to make more jokes about it. But I did like Backdraft back in the day. I should really give it another chance. Was this happening the same time as Firestorm, starring that football commentator, which we have a copy of somewhere? Do I have that on set? No, I don't. Anyway, I have the copy somewhere, but anyway, yeah. So he settles on Mrs. Doubtfire.
Doubtfire.
I beg your pardon?
Doubtfire, dear?
Now, I would not fall for such a fake name.
No,
Joey C.
and you wouldn't fall for that bit anytime.
No, Mrs. Joey. Sorry, I called you Joey C.
Oh.
Mrs. Joey
Oh,
C.
thank you. Yeah, sorry. I didn't hear
Yeah, I would not fall for that.
that. No.
Because I'm a smart guy.
Yeah,
I'm a
real-
smart guy. I mean, Miranda has lady brain. She'll fall for it. But I bet you Mr. Brotherhood of the Wolf Sea would never fall for something like this.
No. He was very smart. Very smart.
Yeah. Then, he hires his brother to make him a woman. They test out different stuff, which is a fun montage. I do like when they're singing like matchmaker.
Yeah, it's kind of, it reminds me of that scene in Ernest Goes to Jail. When
Yeah.
Ernest is in the mirror and he's like,
Right.
"You're the guy that shot my brother, and I'm the guy that's going to shoot you." That's what it kind of reminded me of.
You like Ernest Goes to Jail?
Oh, my God, yeah.
There's a Confederate flag in that movie. So you like a movie with the Confederate flag?
It was, so anyways, what happens after the montage?
So yeah, there's the whole montage. I like the different tries they have with him and different faces. And then they settle on one, and it's the perfect face. He looks like Robin Williams in an old lady latex mask. Like, it's very obviously Robin Williams.
Clearly.
This would not fool me for a second.
No. You would never be fooled by that.
I
ever.
would never be fooled. And if anyone did get one over on me doing that, I'd freaking wring their neck.
That's funny, man.
Yeah, because I don't like looking like a fool, Mrs. Joey.
No,
C.
of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not, man.
Yeah, I don't feel like this would work. Because you ever, my little cousin Frankie,
Okay.
when he was like really young, my grandfather had a Santa suit, and he would pretend to be Santa. He tricked us. He was able to trick us, but the one year he tried to trick, he tried to like be Santa for my little cousin. And like right away, like he was there, Santa, and like my little cousin Frankie was like, "Oh yeah," and then he left, and my grandfather came back, and he went, "Oh, you're Santa." It's like, so I feel like in real life, if this was tried, actually, they'd be like, "Oh, that's Dad." Actually, it reminds me of Arrested Development, Mrs. Featherbottom.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Philidia Featherbottom.
The family, of course, knew it was Tobias, but the house had never been cleaner.
They're all charmed by her, but they prefer their dad.
Yes, of course.
And also, Mrs. Doubtfire mentions that she's an expert in the Heimlich maneuver. This comes back later on.
Yes, it does.
Then Dan gets a ride on the bus with this elderly bus driver.
He's putting the moves on, man.
feel really bad for this bus driver. Is there a deleted scene that wraps up his story?
If so, that would be the greatest addition to this movie ever.
Because I feel really bad for him. Because
poor guy.
he's clearly an older gentleman. He's like, I hope you have someone warm to go to tonight.
That's sad.
And it's like, I'm like, wow, this guy has clearly got the hots. I'm like, oh, this poor fucking guy.
He's getting catfished.
And he doesn't get his storyline wrapped up. So it's like somewhere out there, this guy was like, I hope I see that nice lady again. She was really sweet. I'm like, oh.
Just wandering the streets of San Francisco looking for a warm body to go
driving a bus,
home with.
skipping people's stops. That's not her. That's not her. Yeah, and then Dan says, I gotta find the misogynistic bastard who invented heels and kill him.
Great line.
So he's calling out misogyny. Woke.
Yeah, that very woke.
Woke.
Very woke.
I mean, you're probably for woke things because you're a woman, but us manly men,
Yeah, anyhow.
Yeah. His court liaison's there. She surprises him. Well, not surprise. It's a scheduled visit. He should have timed it a little bit better. I was going to warn you that Mountain Dew is known to kill sperm cells, but I realized I don't have to do that.
Oh, that's
for
right.
you.
Yeah, I'm a full-blown woman.
I don't know.
Man.
My instinct was like, hey, I heard a rumor in the early 2000s that that's what that does, but you don't need that. So I don't know. Sorry. I got distracted. Anyway, yeah, she's there. She's like, yeah, I have to go upstairs. And he's pretending to be his own sister now. It's like, I'm his older half sister.
Is much older.
Yeah, much older. So they go upstairs. He runs into the room. I do like all the puns that he's making.
Yes, I want to keep you abreast of some of the changes in my career. There have been two big developments.
It's real hairy, and it's showing his hairy, because Robin Williams is a very hairy man.
Yeah. And then the kids are watching from the window. It's just...
Yes, that's when he switches back afterwards. So he goes in, updates her, and he's like, yeah, my sister makes a hell of a cup of tea. And she's like, I would prefer some. He's like, oh, son of a bitch. But his mask falls out.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. The Asian kids are watching him, and this is a fun fact. I don't know if he wants me telling this. But my friend Frozen Asian, who's on the Daywave show, he does a lot of shows, my friend Royce. This was actually him as a young kid.
No way.
Yeah, him and his twin brother, which I didn't even know he had. That was actually him in the movie.
What?
So if you're a fan of Daywave, be like, hey, Frozen, we saw you in Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's wild.
So yeah, his mask gets knocked out of the window and ran over.
Yep.
And
Happy Gilmore style.
What's he going to do? Because she's about to come in the kitchen and see that it's not whoever he's pretending to be. Luckily, there's a cake in the fridge.
Yeah, just a cake with no cover on it or anything.
No. And he shoves his face in it. And it's supposed to look like facial cream, like a homemade remedy, they say. They're like, oh, you want some more cream? And it drips off.
Oh, I'm melting like a hot, whatever she says.
So I'm going to go now. But I do like that the girl, she puts the cream on her face.
Oh, God.
Hello. Able to trick. Yeah, hello. Able to trick her.
Yep.
Able to trick her. Wouldn't trick me.
No, of course not.
Wouldn't trick me. I'd be like, that's not you.
Yeah.
That's a wig. I know that's a wig. And I do like that he goes, I'm Norman Bates. when he's just got the robe and the wig on, it is kind of what Norman Bates looked like. Then we got Papa's Got a Brand New Bag song. A lot of songs in this.
A lot of songs.
A lot of songs transitioning between scenes in this. Mrs. Doubtfire forces them to do homework.
Which is weird because she's very strict now.
Yeah. Well, she has to be. She's got to put a cover.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very
But I
good
like they're
point.
watching the Dick Van Dyke. These kids are real into black and white stuff. I mean, I was too, but I'm all three of these kids like black and white stuff. They're watching, what is it, The Melting Man? They're watching some movie earlier, which is pretty cool. But he throws the remote in the water.
It is a good take. Just throws it over his shoulder and it lands right in the fish
But
tank.
it's like, well, what are you going to tell the mom? She watches TV.
Sorry, I broke your remote. It got underwater somehow.
And if I was the daughter, I would have been like, there's buttons on the TV.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, she forces them to clean the house. Puts them to work.
With toothbrushes and stuff, some heavy duty cleaning, I'd say.
Yeah, they're not happy about it. But then he totally fucks up dinner and almost lights himself on fire. Wait, he does light himself on fire. I like that he orders Italian food to be delivered.
It was so expensive.
It was very expensive.
Let me tell you, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, sorry. Did you just say let me tell you?
No, that was... That
I-
must have been a creak in the ceiling or something.
I thought I heard someone say let me tell you. That's what my friend Joe E.C., not to be confused with you, Mrs. Joe E.C.
Oh.
He used to say that. And I thought maybe he was in the... He better not be in the store. I don't want that crybaby anywhere near the store. So yeah, he just orders the Italian dinner and then dresses it to look like he made it, which I thought was really funny.
Placing like the leaves to make it look like a fancy dinner. It's just like a salad that he just hand-picked apart.
So yeah, Lydia thinks that Mrs. Doubtfire put her mom in a good mood, but I think she's in a good mood because James Bond put himself in her.
That...
Who could blame her?
Yeah, that's right. Foxy. I'd feel the same way.
Well, obviously, I mean, you are a single woman.
That's
and
true.
I think Pierce Brosnan would be a really good replacement for Brotherhood of the Wolf Sea.
Yes, he could knock the cobwebs out.
Yeah. The elderly bus driver again. He's so accepting because he sees the hairy legs and he says, I love women from the Mediterranean. I'm like, oh, well, he likes Italian chicks.
Yeah, that's right.
Likes Italian chicks. How do you feel when like American girls like make a big deal out of like not shaving? It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. Not that I'm, into women, of course. I'm a
Yeah, no,
straight
I just
woman.
like when they do it as like a
But-
statement. It's like, oh wow, so you're like most of the rest of the world.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, but you're not making a statement, Mrs. Josie.
I got lazy. I had to do my makeup and rush
Yeah,
the house to get here, of course.
it always cracks me up where they're like, I didn't shave. It's like, yeah, a lot of people don't. Like, relax.
Yeah,
like,
I don't either.
Or like when guys get mad when like girls don't shave. They're like, oh, it's gross. I'm like, you've never dated an Italian during
Yeah,
winter? Like, what the
exactly.
fuck is your problem?
That's the whole Italian forte right there.
Or just any girl. It's like, you never had a long-term girlfriend during the winter time. How are you not used to it? Oh, no. Dude looks like a lady montage.
That's right.
We allowed to like that song?
I think so.
I don't know what else we're allowed to like. I feel like this would be a problematic movie now.
I think you're absolutely
You know what
right,
I
Tony.
really want to watch? It came out a few years ago, LaQuisha.
Oh, man, dude.
Did you see that?
No. I heard so many people talk about that movie, though.
If you don't know, they made a movie about a guy who gives really good advice, but he can't seem to get a job giving advice. So he a white guy pretends to be a black lady on the radio
Yep.
and gives people's advice and fixes their problems. I am LaQuisha. It looked like the movie of the year, but I didn't get around to watching it.
yeah.
Hopefully one day.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so here's a question. I guess he affords rent because he's getting paid $300 a week from them, but like he has a job. We almost never see him at that job. It's
Yeah.
very rare. I'm like, is he working part-time?
Yeah, we do see a few clips where he's like stamping the things and running out.
Oh,
And then I
okay.
think he's rushing so he can go pick up the kids from school.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
Okay.
this
maybe-
guy's double dipping for income,
Yeah.
right? So he's a
I
hustler.
mean, we all have side hustles,
That's
okay?
right. That's right.
You know, there are some websites out there that are only meant for fans.
Yes, exactly.
And some people slashed my tires and hacked the movies. I couldn't think of a clever thing for the last one. So yeah, I respect the hustle. I respect the side hustles. You know, he's doing. I mean, I don't respect conning your family and manipulating them. I mean, I don't really respect that part.
Psychopath, man.
Yeah. And the brother being complicit in it. I don't
It's an
respect that.
accomplice.
Stu tries to relate to Mrs. Doubtfire. They meet. He's like, I'm from London. He's like, what part are you from? He's like, oh, here and there. And he's like, yeah, what does he say? Your accent's a little washed out or
Yeah,
something?
something like that.
But he fires back and is like, oh, so is your tan. I'm like, oh, buddy.
Some of those lines that Mrs. Doubtfire says to Pierce Brosnan is wild.
Yeah. So,
Ringers, dude.
yeah.
Like
Dan is like gaslighting the whole family against Stu. And it's like, oh my. I'm like, was the point to just be with your kids? Are you trying to get your wife back?
Yeah, the motives are unclear here.
Yeah. But he does give it. Mrs. Doubtfire gives advice to Miranda. And she's like, how long after Mr. Doubtfire died did you continue? He's like, no, never. It's like when the father of your children are dead, lifelong celibacy. I like you, lifelong celibacy. How long, if you don't mind me asking, how long after Mr. Brotherhood of the Wolf, sorry, there was a fly in the store. How long after Mr. Brotherhood of the Wolf C died did you move on?
About 4 minutes later, actually.
Wow.
You see, the mailman dropped off a package, and I had a big couch that needed to be moved, and I couldn't control myself. The wolf inside me took over.
So, wait, 4 minutes after he died, or after like the funeral?
He was dead on the floor.
Wow.
And matter of fact, that's why we had to move the couch, because there was a big stain on the floor. And
wow. I mean, don't live in the past,
That's what I'm saying.
What's done is done.
That's what I'm saying,
I'm
Tony.
sure he had many years with Brotherhood of the Wolf C, but you can't let that hold you back. I mean, I would have waited more than 4 minutes. And maybe not the mailman, maybe someone I knew better, but
perhaps.
I don't judge though.
I appreciate that.
I don't judge.
Thank
I
you.
accept all people unless they pretend to be someone they're not.
Yeah.
And try to get one over on old Tony. But I have a good feeling about you, Mrs. Joey C, and I know you wouldn't do that.
No, I would never do that.
So he's helping Lydia with her homework. Mrs. Doubtfire's helping Lydia with her homework. And then they go to the bathroom. And then Chris accidentally opens up the door and sees Mrs. Doubtfire peeing upright with a penis. And they all start freaking out, and I didn't get it.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Did you understand?
No, I don't see what the issue here is.
I don't see what the issue is either.
That's a pretty normal occurrence, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, some women have penises. I don't understand what was supposed to be so shocking in this scene.
No, yeah, I don't really get that.
Keep in mind, I haven't watched this in many years. I don't know how I felt about this scene, when I was a kid, but for this, I was like, huh.
Seems pretty normal.
Although, if I wanted to trick people into thinking I was a cis woman, which you should never do, by the way.
No.
I probably would have peed sitting down just to be safe. Yeah, but they find out it's their dad. Which, okay, this scene is also a little weird because, are there any scenes going forward until the big reveal where they acknowledge that is their dad?
No, there's a few like the daughter and the son peek at each other, quick shots like that. But after this, it's never talked about.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Because it's weird that the kids would just kind of go along with it.
That could have opened up the door to some pretty cool scenes where the kids are helping the dad keep his secret or something.
Yeah, they don't do anything with that one. I feel like you could have just cut this out and trimmed a few things and it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have added a funny comedy bit.
It added unnecessary anxiety for me.
It really did. It really did.
It's true.
Yeah. So the two older kids are in on it. He says, "Don't tell Natalie. She'll rat me out right away."
Yep.
Although I do like the idea when they say, "Who did this?" and he goes, "What did you say?" Uncle Frank and Aunt Jack.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, dying when he said that. But yeah, the kids are cool with it, and what they should say is, "Dad, what the fuck? Just get a job. You don't have to do this creepy shit." But they don't say that for whatever reason.
Nope.
They do finally cut to Dan's job. And they're filming some old man who's been on the TV for years.
Yeah.
Doing a dinosaur show with toys. And this is the worst.
It's so bad.
Is this public access? This wouldn't have been a regular show.
No, definitely public access. But even then, it's San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's a big market.
Yeah.
And
he's putting everyone to sleep. And then we meet Mr. Lundy.
Yes.
Who was in Last Action Hero.
That's right.
But yeah, he's just
he's the movie theater guy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he's just he puts everyone to sleep. He's killing my afternoon time slot. And then Dan is like, who's the idiot who's been keeping this guy on air for 20 years? And he goes, me, because he's the head of the network. Yeah, and so they get to know each other a little bit. And he starts cracking up Mr. Lundy, but then he has to go back to his job of, shipping canisters. So Miranda comes home and she's like, I gotta tell you what happened. The social worker told me that Dan is living with a much older, unattractive woman. Which I wouldn't say that if I thought Mrs. Doubtfire was a real woman.
Yeah.
He's like, he doesn't have a sister, and like his cover's starting to get a little bit blown.
That scene confused me because like there's no way that Miranda didn't say anything to the social worker about that not being her sister. And if that was the case, that would have opened up an entire investigation.
Maybe not an investigation, but they would have asked him, like, why did you say you had a sister? Can you prove this?
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh no. But she opens up to Mrs. Doubtfire about Daniel. And she's like, yeah, he was great. I loved his spontaneity, but he didn't mature, and she did. And it's like she has valid reasons.
It's true.
For wanting to leave him. She should have did it a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
Oh, I do like when she's just like, how did Mr. Doubtfire die? And he's like, he loved the drink. The drink is what killed him. It's like, oh, was he an alcoholic? He's like, no, he was hit by a Guinness truck. So the drink literally. I'm like, dude, your wife would probably know that you make jokes like that. Maybe just pick an easier one.
Yeah,
Don't
literally.
overcomp. Because she'd be like, my husband used to do weird improv shit and say stuff like that.
The holes are starting to show, folks.
Yeah, he's
time.
getting a little too comfortable.
Yeah.
Being standing up is one thing. Doing your comedy act, that's another thing. You're going to get caught.
Can you just like imagine doing this and imagining how nervous you would be?
Imagine dressing up like someone I'm not to trick someone who knows me.
Now, I don't know this personally, but I can imagine the person fooling the other person would be very, very, very nervous for their safety.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, he hears her vent about Daniel, and you can see that he's like starting to reflect, like, oh, maybe I was a piece of shit. I should have like been like a little nicer, not so self-centered. I used to be like that. I had to change. I had to
interesting.
change. Yeah.
Good for you for changing.
Hasn't got me a girl since then, but okay. Thanks.
I have a sister.
Oh, you have a sister? What's her name?
Her name is Miss Detroit Rock City.
Oh.
City's my maiden name.
Oh, wow. So your name used to be Joe E. City.
Correct.
Wow. Well, I hope Detroit Rock City would be up for someone like me.
Yes. She would love you.
Oh,
in
wow.
fact. Yeah.
Wow. Is she a fan of the band Kiss?
Kiss?
Yeah.
No, I never. I'm sure she never heard of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, one of their songs just popped in my head for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway. So the family goes to Stu's like country club with the communal swimming pool.
It's just typical like white,
Yeah.
like rich guy.
Yeah, and he does like an amazing dive. He does like a bunch of flips and whatnot.
And boy, is he in shape.
Yes, and
Wow.
Mrs. Doubtfire is pointing out every single one of his flaws, saying it's lipo, personal trainers.
She says it's cold out here.
Yeah, he was in the pool. He was in the pool. I was in the pool.
That was the best line in that scene.
Yeah. But then I like that he goes to drink and he tries to buy a drink for like a young girl. He's like drinking.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, you know what you're dressed like. And it should be getting you more women.
Exactly.
I think.
Exactly.
So the problem with that scene is that woman being like, ew, no. And she's being very ageist.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
I'm glad we're on the same page
Yes.
there. But then he eavesdrops on, Stu talking to his friend.
He's just hiding behind like this little plant on the bar. Yeah, just like that.
But yeah, he's just like, I know I said I hated kids, but I love kids now. Look at those kids. They're great. And he's like, what's the dad like? He's like, what a loser.
Yeah.
Fucking hate him. I hope he dies and goes to hell. He's a Nazi. He says all those things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Word for
wow,
word.
we're rewatching this on Disney Plus. I'm like, I don't remember him saying all that.
That's
but
what I'm
okay.
saying.
So, Dan's not too thrilled with that. Fucking chucks a piece of fruit at his
Yeah,
head.
nails him, dude. And then he does a fucking like, whoa, where did that
He's
come
like,
from?
who did that? Did you not tip someone? It's like really loud to everyone. Did you not tip very well? back at his job, Dan like ad-libs like this he's playing with the dinosaur toys and ad-libbing like a bunch of songs and stuff, and the network head, Mr. Lundy, sees it. He's like, that was really funny. And he's like, hey, I want to give you a chance. Let's meet Friday at, what was the fucking place?
Oh, yeah, it was some fancy restaurant. I have no idea.
Friday at this restaurant. Be there. Sharp. I used to think that was going to be like a thing as a kid, like strict meetings that if you miss, you're screwed. And it's like, you just reschedule.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of times they'll reschedule on you. Like the big person who's like your chance, they might have something like, I'm sorry, we got to do this another day. But in movies, it made it seem like if you miss this, you're fucking dead.
Yeah, you're done.
You'll be poor. You'll be a homeless person.
Blacklisted.
Yes. So Dan finally cleans up his place and he learns how to cook. I did like earlier, he was watching, I think, Julia Childs. He was watching that, learning how to cook, and he was making lobster and whatnot. And then, Miranda comes and he's like, hey, I'm like a good person now. Can I take care of the kids? And she's like, no, Mrs. Doubtfire is doing such a good job. Like, I can't replace Mrs. Doubtfire. And he's like, well, shit. Now, easy solution. You just pretend to be Mrs. Doubtfire. Be like, hey, I have to go visit some family.
Yeah.
They're sick. I
Somebody
can't work
died,
here anymore.
whatever.
But no, he doesn't.
Literally, he could be out so quickly, so easily.
Yeah, it's really easy, but he doesn't do that for whatever reason. He gives her, as Mrs. Doubtfire, he gives Miranda terrible dating advice for like the outfits. She's trying to pick between like a little black dress and a little red dress. And he picks like a shawl that she wore at a funeral. It's like the classics never die. We sure this.
So good.
So yeah, then he finds out that they're all invited to her birthday dinner. Stu invited them out at the same restaurant at the same time.
Another anxiety-ridden scene.
This is classic sitcom.
Yeah.
This is a very classic sitcom scenario where they now have to dress up and.
Yep.
By the way, you can't just take those faces off.
No.
Like they take a really long time to apply and a really long time to take off. You got to get like wipe the glue off, but for this movie, let's just pretend it works the way it does.
Right, of course.
This movie's using Mission Impossible rules, and you just rip that baby off and you're fine. So yeah, he's like, okay, well, we're doing this. I'm going to try and do both dinners. And they arrive at the same time as Mr. Lundy. And I like by the way, smoking or non-smoking. When's the last time you got asked that?
It's been since the Pizza Hut days.
Yeah, it's been a very long. I was thinking, I'm like, it really took me back. I'm like, that's a phrase I used to hear a lot, and I don't hear it anymore.
Yep. I did go to a hotel in Boston once that asked me if I wanted a smoking or non-smoking room. But the last time I heard that in a restaurant, it was probably 2003.
Yeah, now you have either bars that do smoking or ones that don't.
Yes.
There's really no in between.
Nope.
So yeah, that just took me. Because again, I watched this movie a lot as a kid. When I watch movies from my childhood, it like kind of takes me back, especially if they're set in like the time period. I'm like, oh my God, I remember every restaurant hearing that question. I'm like, why are there two sections? No one should be smoking. That's what I said.
Yeah, of course.
Wearing my Dare shirt.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, Dan is still trying to sabotage Sue. Stu, I mean.
Yeah,
he is really fucking with him.
Dude, bad.
At one point he gets like everyone away from the table and he's saying that Miranda has crabs and shit.
And then she said something about like the vibrator that she has. It's like a power drill or something.
That's when I was watching this and I'm like, this was Disney?
That's wild.
I'm like, I know Disney owned other things and released other movies. I'm like, but they were on board with it. I'm like, oh, Fox. Yeah, that makes sense. Because, Disney, if anything was like too much for kids, they would release it through like Touchtone or Miramax or Dimension. They used to work with Harvey Weinstein.
Jeez. God.
He's switching back and forth. He's constantly meeting with the guy. He's getting drunker, and then he switches to Mrs. Doubtfire. I do like he comes back with makeup on and women's perfume, and his like excuses like ran into an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Couldn't get her hands off me. And then the guy's like, does she have a friend for me?
Dude. This guy's older than dirt asking that. Wild.
Because like every girl just happens to have. Well, no, wait, your sister, Detroit Rock City. I guess it's not false. It is true.
No, it is very, very true. She's very available.
Oh wow. Can I look her up? Is she on social media?
No, her phone got hacked.
Oh.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to. We'll get back to you. We'll call you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Usually I don't give my number to new people I've met, but
No.
if you could find me true love, I would love to date Detroit Rock City. Anyway. Yeah, so he's like got boned in the bathroom. It's like the guy should be like, we're supposed to be having a meeting.
Yeah,
What are
a
you doing?
professional meeting.
You haven't like suggested like one thing so far. And then they switch again. He finds out that Stu is allergic to pepper.
Yep.
So he puts pepper in his jambalaya. Which I wish there was a place around here that did good jambalaya. I could really go for jambalaya right now. So he like poisons him basically.
Dude, it
but
puts a lot on there too.
Fucking master of disguise just puts a chef's coat over the Mrs. Doubtfire thing and walks in the kitchen and no one just goes, "You're not part of the kitchen staff. Get out, old lady."
That's right.
It was the 90s. You could just do that.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah,
and not to mention they're drinking a shit ton.
yeah,
of,
he's like
whiskey or
hammered.
something.
By the
Yeah.
way, at this point, I feel like when his teeth fell out, that
yeah.
was funny. But yeah, he goes back to the table with Mr. Lundy as Mrs. Doubtfire, and he's like, "Why are you dressed like a woman?" Which I don't know why that would be a question.
Yeah,
Yes.
of course. No,
it's
yeah,
fine.
it's pretty simple.
It's like normal.
Yeah.
Normal. Unless you're pretending to be someone else to lie to a good friend. Anyway, he's like, "Oh, this is my character that I'm going to be for your show. This is my pitch to you." And the network head should be like, "It takes a long time to put that makeup on. How did you do that so quick?" But then it turns out Stu is choking. And I like that Dan's like, "Oh, God, I killed the poor son."
And just beelines it, man.
The beelines it, does the Heimlich, which he wasn't lying about. For some reason, I misremembered. I thought it was like a George Costanza thing where he says he's a marine biologist, and then like the whale is choking. Like, "George, do something." He's like, "I don't know what the fuck to do."
Yeah.
So yeah, he goes and he saves him, but in the process, his mask comes undone.
Yep.
And the mom is just like, "What the? Oh my God!" Which is the appropriate reaction. I'm sorry.
If anything, she underreacted.
She underreacted.
I would have called the police.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yes. That was really creepy. And then like he looks at everyone and he's like, "The show's over." I do like Pierce Brosnan shakes his hand for saving his life.
Yeah.
He's like, "Thank you.
Yeah.
I need to go." Dan, he's now in court. He's made a lot of bad decisions in this film.
To say the least.
His last decision is to represent himself in court.
Yeah.
I mean, I represented myself, but that was like a traffic ticket.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
I won.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but it was a traffic ticket.
Not a custody battle.
No, this
between
is
your
for
children.
custody battles, lawsuits, restraining orders, murder trials. You might, I mean, it's happened many, many times, but last year there was a very public one of some guy who tried to defend himself and it didn't go his way at all. Didn't go his way at all.
Ooh. I'm just saying they could have got Robin Williams for kidnapping,
Yes.
trespassing,
Yes.
like damn near criminal impersonation.
Yes, and his defense, I do like the judge of this case. He does this heartwarming defense. He's like, "Yeah, but you're an actor. That's probably all bullshit." And he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, that is true. He does give a really beautiful speech.
Yeah.
And the judge is like, "Nope, don't believe any of that."
He's like, "Well, you tricked everyone into thinking you're some old hag.
Yeah.
I'm not falling for this. Fool me once, shame on you.
Right.
Fool me twice, fool me, don't get fooled again."
Right. J. Cole. That's right. I
That
would never.
That was George Bush.
Oh, but
Do you not?
Jake, yeah, no, I know that. J. Cole did a fucking whole thing about it.
Oh.
Like, fool me once, shame on, which is the George Bush thing.
Yeah.
Fool me twice, shame on you, or whatever.
He's
Oh, fool me,
like,
don't get fooled again.
Fool me, don't get fooled again.
Fool me, don't get fooled again. Tony, I would never fool you.
Thank you.
Yes, I am a very reliable individual.
Very trustworthy.
Exactly.
I hope I never find out that you are cheating me and deceiving me.
I would never do that.
I don't know why you would have to. We just met. There's no reason
That's
to.
what I'm saying.
Especially if I'm going to be your future brother-in-law when I marry Detroit Rock City.
That's right.
And they become Detroit Rock from Hack the Movies. So the judge denies him custody. He says, like, what is it, like a year after like psychiatric stuff? He on all his visits once a week, supervised.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it, like, I don't think it was harsh enough. Like,
No,
he
not at
really
all,
was like
man.
fucking psychotic.
Dude, literally, kidnapped his own kids.
Yes,
broke into his
trespass.
own house.
Yes.
Like, oh my God. Yes.
And honestly,
supervised
because
visits.
part of it was like getting a job, and he did kind of get a job, but he was also making money from the wife, so he would have to like owe the money.
Oh, yeah. You're
Yeah.
right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So yeah. All the kids miss Mrs. Doubtfire. They don't like the new nanny who doesn't do anything apparently. But they're like, we miss her. We miss her. And like the one girl's like, we got to stop referring to your dad as her. They're the same person. And then they hear Mrs. Doubtfire on the TV.
Yep.
And it turns out that whole public display, Mr. Lundy didn't go, oh, that's an insane person.
Yep.
I should leave right now. He went, oh, I got to give them a show.
Big time.
Got to give them a show.
To give them all the spotlight. No criminal charges or anything.
What kind of producer would allow a criminal to stay in entertainment? Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh.
But who else?
Oh, man.
Go back and watch the worst Jeepers Creepers review we did. I did that with Casey and former co-host Joe E.C. Not to be confused with Miss Joe E.C. Have you ever seen the Jeepers Creepers films?
You know, I haven't, but I did watch your episode on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. The very handsome guest.
Oh, thank you.
There.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, guess.
Guests. There are lots of guests. They're all
okay.
very handsome and stuff.
Well,
Not one in particular.
Again, though, that Joey guy, real crybaby.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I can't. Look, it's fine if I have a woman on the show, but if I have men on the show, they need to be very masculine and be as masculine as me.
Of course.
Match my masculinity, my toxic masculinity.
Right.
It's all about balance.
I agree.
We have the ladies talking about some lady bullshit, and we have me just with old school traditional male values.
Yes.
Now, anyway, let's go back to Mrs. Doubtfire. They have a show. This line kind of got me. Where he goes, do you know what language they speak in England? And the puppet goes Pakistani, and they're like, yeah, we'll explain that next week. And I was like, oh, that one got me good.
Yeah.
That one got me good. Miranda sees this, and she's moved. And she goes to the station to talk to Daniel, and of course they fight.
Yeah.
But she's like, the kids need you in their life. But Daniel gets like real defensive, like, you just let the judge make that decision. It's like, no, you're the bad guy. You
It's so true.
should be begging and thanking her for this opportunity that you do not deserve.
He's a criminal, man.
He is a really fucked in the head criminal.
Psychotic. You're so right about that.
Yes.
Wow.
And like the movie wants us to be on his side, I think. I'm like, no, he's the bad guy.
Out of his mind. Needs to be mentally evaluated.
This is one of these movies where people get the good and bad guy mixed up.
That's
This
right.
one, Dan, Mrs. Doubtfire, bad guy.
Bad. For sure.
Titanic, Billy Zane, good guy.
I agree.
Angel.
We should get him on the show.
I'm trying my best. We now have the signed Phantom VHS on the set.
All right.
Signed by Christy Swanson.
Wow.
Who everyone loves.
Wow.
And agrees with politically.
That's right.
Anyway, so yeah, she's like, hey, look, I want you to be in the kid's life. Let's try it. Oh, and I also like that they kept the elderly guy as the mailman on the new show.
That's
They didn't
right.
just fire him. Like, oh, that's nice.
That was a nice little.
That was
Easter egg
nice.
there.
Yeah, then there's a really nice message at the end
There
where he's
is.
like, there's all different types of families. Sometimes parents split up and get back together. Sometimes they stay separated. Sometimes they're better separated. There's families with like one mom or one dad and whatnot. And it's a really nice message for kids who
I
maybe
agree.
don't feel like normal because they don't have like the regular family unit to let them know like, hey, no, this is fine.
I do really appreciate that they didn't get back together.
Yeah.
In the movie.
No, I mean, Joey C., a young lady like yourself.
Oh, yes.
We all love Robin Williams.
That's right.
We all love Robin Williams.
Yes.
You're going to pick Robin Williams over Pierce Brosnan?
Not a
90s
chance.
Pierce? Yes,
Not
thank
a
you.
chance.
Thank you.
Not a chance. But I appreciate it because, like, it's so cliche that they fall in love.
Yeah. There's
you
no
know.
reason for them
Yeah,
to. That's not the message of the movie.
Exactly.
The message of the movie is get a fucking job, stop being a creep. and also divorce is normal and not every family is the same.
That's right.
But they're all valid.
That's right.
Yeah. And the film ends. Daniel gets in the car with his kids. He's now unsupervised. And the last shot is him driving to the ocean where he presumably drives off a cliff and drowns all of them because he's an insane person.
Yep.
Who can't be trusted.
That's right.
Why is she allowing him?
I have no idea. There should be supervision. Unreal she trusted him. She's out of her mind.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Oh my God. So yeah, kind of a bittersweet ending, I think. I don't know. How do you feel about this movie? Because I know, like, if they did this now, there'd be a million articles.
Oh, dude, there'd be a million videos.
There'd be a million articles about how it's
everything.
offensive, and then the only people defending it would just be the opposite side that wants to be offensive. And it's
Yeah.
like, the movie, I think, is fine.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's in a playful manner. Like it's
Yeah.
There's a big difference between like being like offensive and like just being playful.
Yeah.
And this movie has good intentions. And yeah, it was the first time I rewatched it in 15 years.
Yeah.
And I really loved it. I
still-
had a fun time with it.
It still holds up. Most of the humor is really, really funny. Again,
Yeah.
I didn't get some of those jokes, like why would
No.
it be weird that a woman is standing up peeing?
No, I don't get that.
But everything else really holds up. He's got really good one-liners against Stu.
Yeah.
I
Big time.
really, really enjoyed that. I enjoyed just seeing Harvey Fierstein in something. Like I always used to crack me up when I would see him
Cool
in
dude,
things.
man.
Yeah. I think it holds up. Other than Dan is clearly like a bad guy, and the movie shouldn't try to make him too sympathetic because he is like the worst.
That's
And
right.
I'm not really. And the fact that he yells at her at the end, I'm like, I don't think he's really learned his lesson.
No, definitely not. The complete opposite. He got away with it. He's like, what
Yes.
else can I do?
Yes. But yeah, I think we are allowed to like Mrs. Doubtfire. What do you think?
I completely agree.
What
I
do you-
completely agree.
What do you think in the audience? Are we allowed to like Mrs. Doubtfire? Do you like Mrs. Doubtfire? Do you like the French TV version, Madame Doubtfire? We really should check that out.
Yeah, we got to check that out.
Oh, I think the original story is called Alias, Madame Doubtfire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very fancy.
Yeah, this was a good time. Well, Mrs. Joe E.C., where can we find you? What? This whole time, Mrs. Joe E.C. has been official Joe E.C.?
At youtube.com/official Joey C. I'd love to have you.
You lied to me to get back on the show? I feel so betrayed. I had such a good bond with Mrs. Joey C. Had I known it was crybaby, not manly at all, official Joey C., I would have ended this review as soon as it started.
Tony, I can explain.
What? Do you really have a sister named Detroit Rock? Was that part true? Because we're reaching levels of desperation I haven't reached before. That was probably a lie too. Well, I guess subscribe to official Joey C since they're not allowed on this channel ever again. Yes, and please like, share, and subscribe here. Check out our Patreon. We put out a bunch of commentary tracks last month. And yeah, hope to see you guys soon. Mrs. Doubtfire, what a film. Joey C, what a liar.
Hello!
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our other videos and Patreon page.
Talking about tapes.